right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with your San Francisco Giants franchise mode commentary. We are here at the trade deadline. We have a record of 56 and 54, 2.5 games back out of our division. We are currently sitting a half game back of the wild card spot, looking to get into the playoffs for the first time in at least this commentary and a couple years back there from the Giants. I believe the last time may have been that fluke year in 2019, maybe it was, where they ripped off 100 wins and then haven't been to the playoffs since. So we're itching for it. We're right there on the cusp. Another really key trade deadline for us, and we are set to make some moves. We need to make the moves. It's time. It's basically playoffs or my job is out of here. So I'm not going too crazy because I want to keep it somewhat realistic, not just try and make ourselves make the playoffs, right? But we are going to be very active, and we took a look at which teams were at the bottom of the league and would be selling off some players off their roster, trying to get capital back. And the first trade we have is with the Chicago White Sox. They're not in a playoff spot. They have Caleb Ferguson here. We know we needed a better left-handed reliever for our team. He's really solid. He's on the last year of his deal. And they were looking for catchers here. And Adrian Sagasti here is not going to be a part of our major league roster anytime soon, with Bailey, Sable, Porter, all a part of this team moving forward. He's just kind of a depth piece there. May as well send him away, give him a chance to actually make the team there in Chicago. So that is trade number one. Boom. Sent to Chicago. Best of luck there. The next trade that we have is staying in the AL. We're going out to the Angels, and we are acquiring Yennier Cano, a really dominant reliever here at the back end of the bullpen. You can see what he's been doing over the past few years there across the league. Again, another guy on the last year of his deal, really complete bullpen piece. And, we were thinking about, if we make the playoffs, we need some thump at the end that we can trust to put in to games and close it out. And outside of Camilo Duvall and maybe Kerchak and Scott Barlow has been good for us, but do we really want to throw those guys out there in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning when we need 3 outs? Yennier Cano is a guy we have a lot of confidence in for that. So going the other way, again, another guy on a 1-year deal, so we don't have to overpay too much, is Colin Barber, a prospect outfielder for them. Give him another home, a guy we've acquired earlier. And then Brian Ortiz, a shortstop who we recently drafted, I believe. Just kind of a throw in there to make the deal go through. As well as going the other way, did we confirm on this? Just looking at the notes. I believe we were sending Estevez there as well. He's in the last year of his contract. We could probably get more back for him, but just need to make room for the salary as well in this next trade. So we are sending Estevez the other way. Would have been a nice depth piece in case we lose a couple guys, but we feel confident in some of the other guys to call up if needed. So that's trade number 2 to help bolster the bullpen there in San Francisco. And now the big one that we've been looking over for a while. We thought about how we can improve the first base position, and there's actually a lot of options for that. There was a lot of options for relievers as well. But ultimately, we decided on the Philadelphia Phillies with Ryan Mountcastle, a guy they've been trying to trade away for a while now, who's been having pretty good years consistently there in Philadelphia. He also has an additional year left to his contract, so a guy we could flip or keep on the roster for next year. We just think he's a more stabilized veteran guy that we can plug in there at first base. In addition to Mountcastle, we are picking up Zach Wheeler, a guy we kind of wanted in the offseason, couldn't really acquire him because of our cap space and what we were planning him to do with our starting pitching. He's still got the oomph behind it. We think he can be the piece that pushes us over the top to truly make the playoffs there in our rotation. And going the other way is going to be Hayden Birdsong, part of this deal. A guy that's still growing, couple years left of control would have been nice for our salary, but we're kind of in a need to make the playoffs now mode mindset, and he isn't really producing on the major league level. So we're sending him the other way. And along with Birdsong, we are also trading away Everson Arteaga. Okay, a shortstop prospect that we've had for a couple of years here. Lots of years left of control. Could be a good piece for them as well. And then additionally, to help this go through, it was Alan Serta, just a throw-in outfielder to help this trade go through. We think Zach Wheeler's aging out. He's not really... he's a good trade deadline acquisition, but it's not like he'd have a ton of value because he is hitting free agency. He's going to be 37. How much would he really command here? We think him and Birdsong are kind of equal in value there. And then Mountcastle has been pretty consistent as well at first base. You can't knock him. So getting a prospect like Arteaga back for them as well helps them. And you know what? I'll throw in Raymond Castilla instead of Serta. He's 18. I know he's D potential, but if you're looking at an outfield prospect who's 18, who's hitting 260 in AA, you'd probably like that. So as an organization, it frees up some money for them for next year as well and really helps complete our team. So that's going to be it for the trades. Boom. We are done. We've made our moves. Let's take a look at this roster now and send a couple people down. I believe the first one is going to be Mitch Bratt, the lefty. Just wasn't getting it done this year up in the majors. And then on top of that, at first base is going to be Josh Bell. He can get sent down, no problem. He hasn't really been producing for us at the major league level. Kind of unfortunate, but sometimes that's the way it goes. I'm just kind of looking at some of these trades. Okay, we got to get a catcher called up here to AA to replace Sagasti, and then maybe an outfielder, question mark. Where was he? Colin Barber was in AAA. Did we call up Serta? Call up Jake Means. Jake Means can get moved up to AAA. And then we'll move up Serta here to AA. Some bench bats there. Okay, I believe there's some injuries there, but let's rewrite this ship. So we're actually going to bump Braxton Garrett to the bullpen and let Zach Wheeler take over that 4th spot. Kyle Harrison has been pitching well for us, so we'd like to leave him there. Birdsong gets in there. Caleb Ferguson slides into middle relievers. This glitch always happens when you try to move guys around. And Ynier Cano is going to replace actually Kerchak here, who hasn't been pitching that well in the setup role for us. And that'll complete the bullpen. You can see Bryce Eldridge is having an incredible year here in AAA. He was a guy that we were thinking about trading away for maybe some additional bigger names there in the market, but we essentially want to hold on to him since he is a big part of this future either way. We want to try and get him onto the major league roster next year, also probably at the call-up. So we can get Ryan Mountcastle in here at first base. We're just going to slot him right into that 7 spot. The team's been doing pretty well. I know we're on a little bit of a losing streak. Maybe swap him with Chapman, question mark. But we can leave him in the 7 spot. I think that helps lengthen our lineup a little bit nicer now and definitely helps out versus lefties, as that's been a struggle. We can swap him with Chapman there versus lefties. accordingly. Okay. So that takes care of the major league level. We lost Barber, so we got to get Pinder in here into the outfield. And then at shortstop, we can actually have Walcott play shortstop now instead of DH. And we can get Josh Bell in there to DH here in Double-A. Yeah, slide Casey Schmidt down a little to make that work. We'll get Pinder in here. Play the outfield set there, so let's get Josh Bell in there versus lefties as our DH. That'll help them out, not playing shortstop. And then Double-A, I believe our catcher and outfielder. Let's get Serta in there for now. Switch their positions. Come on, game. All right, that should take care of everything. Double-A's at the top, Triple-A's at the top. We're close. And you can see with those trades, the team has actually moved up to first in this game's view in terms of our roster at the major league level. Built on that contact pitching and defense. We're hoping that's enough to push us into the playoff spot. Like I said, we're a half game back. The key teams we need to beat: Cardinals, Cubs, Pirates. So that kind of central division is really tight as well. So keep an eye on that. And then our own division really is what we're looking for. And, the Phillies, who we did make that trade with, aren't that far out of the playoff spot. They could go on a run. But I think we kind of took away some key pieces there for them. And we get a win there versus San Diego. Last day to sign draft picks. Believe we signed everybody. Okay, one guy left. Richard Hurst, welcome to the team. And now let's look at who we got on the draft. Okay, it looks like we did pretty well this year. Pedro Salas, a pretty good outfield prospect there. Robert Hurst, another pitching prospect, lefty with a 3-pitch mix, and Jose Portillo. So both these guys we were debating between during the draft. We went with Hurst first and then picked up Portillo after. Richard Hurst doesn't look like much. And then Brad Gray, just kind of a first baseman project there. But yeah, pretty solid draft for us, as we haven't been having the best in terms of drafting guys with good potential, good overall coming out of the draft. So that's good to see for our system. And, if we can make the playoffs for my job moving forward, it'd be nice to see some of those guys make the major league team. So contract extensions. There's one guy who we said we want their career to finish in San Francisco. Logan Webb, we know he's having a down year. We feel like we can buy him low, give him a solid 3-year deal, see if we can get him at $35 million. Probably a little less than what he wants, so we'll go up here to 36.5 for Logan Webb. Length's about right. He wants a little bit more money for that. Okay, how about 38? Perfect. So we'll get Logan Webb back on this team long term. Kyle Harrison's a guy we thought about extending, right? Kind of in the same market, but with the 1 year of ARB left, we want to kind of see where this team falls and how much salary we have left come that time. So here's the make or break right now to decide if we get back to the playoffs or not, if I can keep my job or not. We sent down Mitch Brown. Got to send down a reliever here. AAA, Stanley Crane's not doing great at all. So we'll put him down in Double-A. And then just so I don't have to do this again later, Reggie, Jack Jefferson's not doing great. Okay. So that takes care of that. And not looking too great coming out of the trade deadline, but there's a couple wins in a row versus the Rockies. That always helps. Finally beating below 500 teams is always a good sign. The Mets take 2 from us. This is a big series here against Pittsburgh. So we're 3.5 out of the division. We are in a wild card spot if it were to end today, but Pittsburgh is a game and a half out. Mets tied us, so that was a big series against the Mets. Let's see what Zach Wheeler can do, and he gets lit up by Pittsburgh. Great. We lose the second game. Really need to salvage this one, and we get swept by Pittsburgh. Oof. That hurts. That hurts the playoff standing outlook right there. Not what you want to see. Cubs are another big team here, and Arizona. Let's get these two series. Oh, okay. We need to stop the simulation here and see if there's something that we can change with our lineups in a minute. I just want to get Lloyd German back in there. Slot him into left field. Okay. Something's not going right for this team right now. So Chapman's still struggling. Mountcastle's not doing great since coming over. Ciano, Bush. There's really not a whole lot it can do, per se. Let's try and slide up Langford in that lineup, since he's been hitting well. That's probably about it. All we can really do there. Could bump Mountcastle back a spot there versus lefties. It's really all we can do. I mean, it's really just on this team to perform at this point. So we do grab a win. Looks like Zach Wheeler hasn't really helped much for us in his starts. Ugh, that was a rough run of things. 2 games back now out of the playoffs, losing to teams that we're competing against, and then we get lose the first 2 to Washington. Same old, man. The same problems with this team. Just don't have that killer instinct. Can't seem to get it done. When it matters, we'll bring up Josh Bell. If there's anybody else, Casey Schmidt, sure. You can get moved up. We'll just throw in you into AA. We'll just bring you up to AAA. I'm not too worried about the minors at this point. Let's let them auto-fix those lineups. Yep. We get swept by Washington. Sweep San Diego. Okay, that gets us back into the running of things. I'm getting nervous. If you can't tell, I stopped talking a little bit, getting a little nervous in terms of where this team's going to end up. We've dropped below 500, 2.5 games back. We really just got to win out at this point. Dodgers, a huge series here. Can we take 2? We got 2. Okay, the Cubs, 2.5 games back. We need a sweep here. They're right on our tail. Need it. Okay. Both minor leaguers made the playoffs. Come on. Come on, San Francisco. Arizona. Come on. Come on. Got 2 of 3. Von Burke gets injured. Looks like AAA won the championship. AA's up. Come on. Come on. Game back. We basically need to sweep Cleveland here. Come on. There's 2. Does that push us in? Or are we still fighting? We are still fighting. Oh, my goodness. This is basically win and we're in. Heart is pounding, and we do it. Ah, what a relief. The Giants are back in the playoffs. Oh, man, what a journey. What a rush that end of the season was. Finished with an 85-77 record. Oh, we can breathe. We can breathe here in San Francisco. What a relief to make the playoffs. Actually, let's go back to the calendar there. What a run we went on after a decent start after the trade deadline. You know, it helps when we played Colorado, but really it was right here. We allowed the Mets to get back into the playoff run with that. We get swept by Pittsburgh, lose 2 of 3 to the Cubs, lose 3 of 4 to the Diamondbacks, and then get swept by Washington. And it looked like all hope was lost at that point. We actually lose a series versus the Angels as well, but then sweeping San Diego, was massive, taking 2 of 3 against a really good Seattle team, 2 of 3 against the Dodgers, our division, then sweep Chicago, 2 of 3 versus Arizona, sweep Cleveland, who I believe is also in the playoffs. Yeah. Oh, they're actually not. So did we keep Cleveland from getting into the playoffs right there too? Were they fighting for a chance to get to the postseason as well there? It looks that way. Yeah. What a race that was to for everyone involved to make the playoffs. Oh my goodness. And where did the Phillies end up? Yeah, they lost down. Okay. Yeah. Wow. All right, so let's take a look at some of these stats where things ended up. Looks like we got a couple of league leaders in there as well. So, Luis Matos, incredible year for him. Really happy that we stuck with him as our starting right fielder. Really helped solidify things at the top of the lineup. For us, Ryan Mountcastle, his stats finished exactly basically where they were in Philadelphia. I think he added 8 home runs here in San Francisco, so a good pickup there for us. Stephen Kwan, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's worth every penny of his contract right there. A borderline MVP season from Stephen Kwan. Hit 370 with a 440 OBP, 30 homers, 112 RBIs. One dotted is OPS. I mean, my goodness, didn't make an error on the year. Finished with a 10 WAR season. Man, he's got to be in the running for the MVP, if not have won it. Matt Chapman struggled versus lefties. Not the year he had last year, but still consistent. 94 RBIs from him. Jung-Hoo Lee, little bit of a downer year, but good enough to help us get to the postseason. Gavin Lux, Mr. Consistent there in the 2-hole, pop 23 home runs for him. He's been a great free agent acquisition for us. Marco Luciano had his best offensive year. That's nice to see. Patrick Bailey, was that his best offensive year? No, a little bit down year from last year, but better in the RBIs and homer total, which is nice to see. Brooks Lee was a great bench player for us. Blake Sable had a great year. Elliot Ramos was a great bench outfielder for us as well. Casey Schmidt seemed like the right guy to call up there as well. We'll take a look at some of the other guys that aren't showing up on this page. Kyle Harrison. So we have, if you include Zach Wheeler in the mix, which he was getting a lot more in Philly, as I'm sure he got here in San Francisco, but we had 4 pitchers get over 200 innings in the starting rotation. You love to see it. Kyle Harrison really answered the bell this year. Corbin Burns with a strong year as well. Logan Webb, a great finish to the year. Zach Wheeler, looks like he didn't do too hot since coming over here for us, but maybe a good bullpen piece for us in the playoffs. Wissenhunt did okay, much of the same, but he's still learning the ropes. Braxton Garrett, okay. Scott Barlow, what more can you ask out of Scott Barlow? Mr. Consistent. Out of our bullpen, Ynier Cano had a great year as well. Definitely helped us out there. Camilo Duvall may have got roughed up in a few games there. You see the 7 blown saves. Kind of a high ERA for him, but that's all right. Caleb Ferguson definitely improved since coming over. Kerchak got better once he was taken out of that setup role. Bummer. And then they have Eldridge up here. Okay, let's take a look at the roster. See how some of this growth went for some of these players. Logan Webb, Zach Wheeler, Corbin Burns continues to drop off a little, even though he's still pitching really well. Kyle Harrison, Bryce Eldridge, like we mentioned. Really good year there in AAA. Wissenhunt, okay. Braxton Garrett, Dustin Fletcher, nice, +7 in that hits column. We needed that. He's borderline Major League ready. Terrell Huffman, who we drafted, is borderline Major League ready already. Whitman, okay, some of these C potential starters, some decent growth. I think that might have been it in terms of some big name guys, a couple of C guys. How did Vance turn out on the year? Another B potential starter. Good year from him. Okay, Cano, Kerchak, Bummer. Barlow, Ferguson. Yeah, that bullpen looks nice now, ready for the playoffs. Another +7 there in the hits for Merced. Love to see that. Stashik, yeah, he was on the major league roster. What a call-up he was when we needed it. I mean, 17 innings, gave up 1 earned run. Looks like it was a homer. Man, what a call-up he was. He'll definitely be on the playoff roster. Mitch Bratt, unfortunately, wasn't ready. It's all right. He'll be in the system. Davich, Miller, Rupp. How did some of these other relievers do for us? Stanley Crane was getting roughed up in AAA. David McDougall looks like he grew nicely. Raymond Burgess, Manny Ramirez. Okay, some good growth there. And then Doval, Marshall Jones. Nice. He's up to an A potential as a closer. Not a lot of velo coming out of that back end, but effective nonetheless. Okay. Patrick Bailey had a good year. Sable didn't really grow too much. Porter could be ready, so that's going to be interesting. We got 3 basically catchers there to play with for next year, but that's a next year conversation. Josh Bell, I don't know if he even got an at-bat in his latest call-up. Yeah, Michael Busch was not ready to take us to the playoffs as at first. Really glad we went out and got Matt Castle. Lux continuing to put up great numbers for us. Von Burke as well in the system. Unfortunately, he got injured. Okay, Chapman, kind of the same. Casey Schmidt. Daryl Lopez +14. Man, if we could get that in some other categories for some players, that would be great to see. Jesse Kesley. Okay, Luciano we know. Rex Lee we know. Walcott we know. We grew him back up to an A. It's awesome for us and our organizational depth. You can really see it coming together now that, I mean, it helps when you make the playoffs to help with that confidence, but some of the organizational depth here and some of the moves we made last year in a really disappointing year helped stockpile some players for us was great for our future. We're getting some really good growth out of some of these younger players. Cam Rubio, decent contact guy. Elliot Ramos, okay. Christian Vaquero, he looks like he might be pushing for a major league spot soon. Yeah, and then Luis Matos, Vaughn Brown, who's just been tough to get going. Same with Grant McKay. Okay, and that's about it. For the organization, let's take a quick look at some of these league leaders. We always save the awards for the end. Like to be surprised. Yeah, Quan. I have a good feeling Quan may have won the MVP with that type of year. I mean, that's video game number levels. Video game, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but those numbers are only truly found in a video game, I feel like. So, incredible offseason acquisition. Definitely the difference maker for us. MVP of this team, without a doubt, in my mind. Yeah, he's going to be at the top of the league for all of this stuff. The only person that could take it away from him would be Shohei because he also pitches. Look at the Cardinals with their moves, and we're going up against them in the playoffs, so that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. But Shane McCallahan, Kyle Wright there for them, free agent acquisition and trade, who they got. Take a look at their full roster in a minute once we go through some of these stats here. Really get a taste for what we're going up against. So you've got Harrison and McCallahan, 2 big-time strikeout pitchers, going to be facing off, maybe not against each other, but their teams respectively here. I think don't need to really look at any more of this. Yeah, pitching Warner went to Callahan. Yeah, 3, almost 2.5 WAR better than the next guy. J.P. Crawford, what a year he had there in L.A. for them. That's a remarkable year, too. 40 home runs, 115 RBIs, 426 OBP, 1 dotted it as well. Yeah, some really good years for some players here in the NL. Just take a quick peek here. Skubal and Julio. Okay, so we're going to save the playoffs for the next video. I know you're probably itching for that after we made it and all this to get here. But let's just tee it up for the playoffs for our team. Take a look at what we've got going up against in St. Louis. So, where are the Cardinals? So, we know we got McCallahan, one of the best pitchers in the game, and Kyle Wright backing him up. Then Eric Fetty, Quinn Matthews, Jose Mitre. We probably won't face either of those guys. But a solid, or not a solid, an excellent top three of that rotation, the numbers to back it up. Bullpen-wise, they definitely got a lot of weapons, lefties and righties. Nothing outstanding. Nothing. I mean, Hunter Harvey had a rough year back there, but so did Duvall. I'm sure he'll be effective in the playoffs. It's nothing overwhelming, I'd say, in the bullpen outside of Hunter Harvey. I mean, Uribe is pretty solid too, and they've got some lefty options back there to neutralize us. So outside of the starting pitch, I mean, the starting pitching is really what makes their team, and I know they're built a lot like us, starting pitching, defense, and contact. So take a look at their lineup. Jordan Walker leading things off for them. Thomas Sagizi, hope I'm saying that right, had an incredible year. Luis Arias, I mean, talk about an OBP contact first top half of that lineup. Pretty threatening. Nolan Jones, Brendan Rodgers, who they have playing shortstop. It's interesting. Seiya Suzuki they acquired. Nico Horner the year before. Yeah, they've got the same blueprint as us. Defense, pitching, and contact in the lineup with some guys that can hit it out. Luke Baker's pretty solid. I wonder if he's in there versus lefties. Take a quick peek at that. Victor Scott. Yeah, I feel like we went through this team last video because we forgot to go through them after the offseason. Wow, they have... Who are they sitting? Jordan Walker versus lefties? Okay, I guess. Would still have him over Schwamake. But yeah. Okay, so that's who we've got going up against. We're going to have our horses in Burns, Webb, and probably Harrison as our three go-to guys. We have a good bullpen, so it'll be a quick leash for some of our players, and it'll kind of be an interesting matchup between the Giants and the Cardinals to get things going in the wild card. But we did it. We're back in the postseason. The series will continue no matter what happens here in the playoffs, but we're not okay with just making the playoffs. This team is built to go on a run into the playoffs and make some noise. So we hope you like this video, and we will see you for the 2027 playoffs in the next one.